Probably to no one's surprise, after going 6-11 with an aging roster making a boatload of money, San Francisco is trying to reposition themselves towards younger draft picks by trading Deebo Samuel and most recently trading Jordan Mason to the Vikings. They also threw in a 5th round pick, the 187th overall, and in exchange, they're moving up 27 picks in the 5th round, and they also get an additional 6th round pick. To me, this is a pretty great trade for San Francisco as well as for the Vikings. San Francisco is moving off a player they weren't going to pay headed into his 4th year in the league, and they were able to recuperate capital from an undrafted free agent, something many teams can't do. I've seen plenty of fans upset with this move because Jordan Mason has been one of the more productive backs in San Francisco's system, and he looked like a little mini beast mode during his time here. But the fact is, San Francisco has become somewhat of a running back factory. They've had Elijah Mitchell, Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert all be successful in their system. A big reason for this is because of San Francisco's running back coach, Bobby Turner, who's already coached Hall of Fame running backs in his career, mind-boggling. He ran his 40-yard dash in 4.33 seconds, his 10-yard split in 1.55 seconds, and his vert was 41.5 inches. Maybe most impressively to me though was his relative athleticism score of 9.97 out of 10, which ranks 6th out of 1,771 running backs from 1987 to 2024. A big reason San Francisco was able to grab Guerendo in the 4th round was because of his limited experience at the position. Coming out of high school, he was actually recruited to be a wide receiver, and while that fits into San Francisco's offense perfectly, a lot of teams needed a running back that was ready to go coming out of the draft. Luckily though, as I was alluding to earlier, San Francisco has Bobby Turner, who really helped transform Guerendo into a true NFL running back. A big question I had about Guerendo coming out of college and during his early days with San Francisco was his vision. Sometimes he would run into the back of his offensive lineman or not clearly see the hole. But now with the coaching of Bobby Turner, it seems like he just sees the field so much better. He's routinely cutting it back on defenses, and rather than just stringing it out when not much is there, he does a good job of putting his foot in the ground and then punishing defenders. Because of this development I saw during Guerendo's rookie season, I have complete faith headed into year 2. He's not only going to get stronger as a player, but he's going to get smarter. So in this video, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the player that San Francisco already drafted to replace Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerendo. Initially starting out, we're going to be looking at Guerendo as almost like a power back, because even though he's extremely athletic, he has the aggression I love out of Mason's game. Here, for instance, early on in his career, I think we would have seen him try to bounce it to the outside, but because of the coaching of Bobby Turner, he sees this little sliver of light, shoots it hard, then look how he's able to keep his feet driving and move this pile down the field for additional yardage. To further highlight how Guerendo's vision has grown as a rookie, on this play San Francisco is running a split zone concept with Kyle Juszczyk coming across offensive line to kick out this defensive end. Meanwhile, the offensive linemen are stepping playside, attempting to get vertical to the second level. The hope is they are able to create lanes the running back can read and either cut back or bounce it outside. Here he's taught to read outside in, and with him seeing zero fill this hole on the outside, Guerendo does a nice job of cutting it in between these tackles right here in this little cutback lane. I love his ability to fit through these small gaps. I know it may sound sacrilege to say it, but it reminds me of Frank Gore, how often it would look like there's no running lane and then he would explode from the backfield. And look how he's finishing this run. This is just some nasty running. He throws that guy to the floor and picks up an additional few yards. And I think this is something not many fans give him credit for. Guerendo is always picking up additional yards. Here, for instance, against 56, he falls forward and picks up an additional 3 or 4 yards. This makes a huge difference in the offense's play calling going forward. In a similar way, I think his contact balance is an underappreciated part of his game. Here, for instance, with San Francisco once again running a split zone concept, Guerendo is reading outside in. He sees 8 shoot the outside hole, so he cuts it back in on this defense, and even with this arm tackle, he's able to break it, and then almost like a bowling ball or a ping pong ball, he just bounces his way up the field. I love this ability out of Guerendo because often it can change a negative play, like here going against the Cardinals, into a positive one. Juice misses this block, but Guerendo is able to break the arm tackle and then pick up an additional 4 or 5 yards on this play. Outside of these grimy runs, I just love Guerendo's footwork. He does a great job of reading the defense and then cutting it back on them. Here going against the Lions, for instance, San Francisco is running a zone concept, and you can clearly see how Guerendo is going to be reading outside in. and as soon as he sees a small gap forming in his offensive line, he's able to take a one-step cut. He puts one foot into the ground and is immediately changing directions, which ultimately leads him to breaking this tackle and picking up 11 on this play. Another cut I love out of Guerendo is his jump cut. He does a great job of getting the entire defense flowing in one direction, comes back on a nasty jump cut that no one can keep up with, and then accelerates with his 4.33 40. A perfect play to highlight this is here against the Cowboys with San Francisco running a split zone concept. Once again, they have Juszczyk coming across the offensive line to kick out this defensive end. Meanwhile, these offensive linemen will be stepping play side. But I really want to focus on how Isaac Guerendo is able to set up this run. First, he does an excellent job of pressing this outside gap, which gets his entire defense flowing in one direction, and then his vision takes over as he's able to see this gap forming in the offensive line. And I love his cutback here. You can see how this jump cut really takes advantage of his athleticism and ability to change direction. Then he explodes through it with his 4.33 40 as I was mentioning. Even though I've mainly been highlighting him just doing one cut and up the field, I do like his ability to chain together cuts in tight spaces. Here going against the LA Rams for instance, you can see how he's able to chain together a couple of nice cuts, which gets him a ton of yards on this play. To me, it's pretty impressive just how smooth Guerendo is at this position, considering how new he is at it. So headed into year 2, I'm excited to see what he can do. And this gives San Francisco a lot of creative ways to use him. Here, for instance, imagine Christian McCaffrey getting faked the ball, comes back to Isaac Guerendo, the entire defense is already flowing towards Christian McCaffrey because of his threat. Then Guerendo's speed and ability to break tackles takes over. I also think Kyle Shanahan will mix in a lot of halfback draws for Guerendo because he's a perfect back to take advantage of an over-pursuing defense. Here going against the Rams for instance, Guerendo does a great job of setting up this block for George Kittle, cutting it hard outside before bouncing back inside and picking up a ton of yards on this play. So far, I've mainly been talking about Guerendo in the running game, but as I mentioned early on in this video, his background is as a wide receiver, so he's even maybe more so deadly than a player like Jordan Mason in the passing game. What really stands out about Guerendo here is his ability to create mismatches all over the field. Here running a simple angle route against this linebacker for instance, he's able to create a ton of separation because of his change of direction and speed. In a similar way here against the Lions, Guerendo will be running a wheel route, and as soon as Brock Purdy can see this linebacker caught flat-footed, he knows he's going to have Guerendo deep down the field open. So he lays it up there, and Guerendo does an excellent job of just tracking this down like a wide receiver. So even though a lot of people are upset with this Jordan Mason trade, I'm not. I think San Francisco has a but ultimately these are just some of my thoughts on Jordan Mason's trade as well as the back most likely to replace him, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below about the trade as well as Isaac Guerendo headed into year 2. It would also mean a ton to me if you could like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.